What if we aren't actually enemies? What if this whole mess is really nothing but a trumped up illusion that we've become so committed to that we now have all kinds of evidence to prove how we're right and someone else is wrong, to prove how our enemies are out to get us, how they need to be stopped, how they need to be voted out of office, whatever. But what if we actually are, what if what we actually are is a perfect mirror image of each other? Left mirroring right. Individuals in relationship mirroring one another. Mirroring our good points, our finest qualities. Mirroring our blind spots. Mirroring our weaknesses. Mirroring the prejudices that we didn't even know we grew up with. This morning, while I was making breakfast, I listened to a YouTube video from a woman who I like and speaks well about a lot of things in the pro-democracy movement. But one of the things she said really struck me. She said, it's not enough for us just to be morally right. We have to be organized. And what caught me was her assumption. The assumption, which is so common on the left, that the left is righteous. The left is right. The left is the party, the people who want to include everyone, who are on the side of virtue, or who are on the side of the big tent, who basically, to one degree or another, believe that they are right and people need to come around to their point of view. So isn't MAGA and the right kind of mirroring your own arrogance? Aren't they saying that this is the only way and Trump is the only way and our set of beliefs is the only way? Isn't that a perfect mirror? There's a human desire for things to be absolute. So I can be comfortable. I have to be absolutely right, and you have to be absolutely wrong. That's fundamentalism. That's what we like to call, and what we in this country like to accuse other countries of, other religions of. But we're doing it ourselves. We are clinging to these absolutes when human beings are not absolute. We talk about racism, and we talk about liberals, and we talk about this, and we talk about that, as though those labels are absolute things. That every single person who might fall somewhere in that category is exactly the same and deserves exactly the same treatment and scorn and shaming as all the rest of them. We see a man who runs into problems with his black coworkers, or a woman. I know a woman who has run into problems with black coworkers and is trying to figure them out, trying to resolve them, trying to resolve these conflicts, these human one-on-one, day-to-day conflicts, and knows that in so doing, he or she is in danger of being labeled a racist. There's no particularity. There's no recognition of the intricate individual differences that get hidden beneath these labels. MAGA calls people libtards and arrogant, and I don't even know all the names, but seeing the left as this other that needs to be eradicated instead of recognizing that there is, even where it may have gotten confused, there is a compassion for humanity, for our fellow humans on the left, that people on the right could learn something from. I've been watching and thinking and listening about this incredible divisiveness in our country these days. And I do see wisdom, valuable experience, articulate perspectives coming from all sides in this debate, or trying to come. And I see people shouting and labeling and spouting off and dismissing and writing people off as racists or liberals or fascists or this or that. And of course there is such a thing as fascism, which is a real thing that needs to be addressed. There is such a thing as racism that needs to be addressed. But we lose each other in this broad sweep of these labels that we use so quickly to dismiss our fellow human beings. We see the enemy in our own reflection. This was the hardest lesson, has been the hardest lesson for me to learn in my lifetime. That what I really don't like about someone else is damn sure something that I'm having some problem with in myself. We see this all different kinds of ways. We see people accusing each other of lying, when you can see, obviously, that they're lying. You can see gay people, closeted gay people, trying to discriminate and punish and even eradicate gay people because they're not willing to face their own inclinations towards being gay. It happens so many ways. It happens politically. We're just lobbing grenades back and forth at each other. And the internet and YouTube, of which I've dipped my toe in now, is a part of that. It's great that anyone, an old ex-con like me, can go on the internet and say whatever I want and find people from around the country and around the world listening and responding. That's a great thing. The problem seems to be that we're expressing, but there's very little listening, self-reflection going on. How is MAGA saying something that's true about our country, about the problems facing our country? And I can tell you from my experience, because I've been looking, they are. How can we begin to hear that instead of just dismissing that, writing them off? My God, you listen to YouTube these days, it is filled with people who are giving themselves full permission, filled with progressives, men, women, just giving themselves full permission to write off an entire segment of our country as they're trying to include and be inclusive and be a big tent. How does that even work? And of course, MAGA is dismissing libtards and people who live in the city and people who don't look like them, and you name it. The dismissal, it's happening in both directions, in all directions. It is a difficult, humbling thing to look in the mirror and not just see your enemy, but to see someone who is reflecting a part of you, of us, that we need to see ourselves. This, if I could snap my fingers and change one thing in this whole climate and in this whole debate, it would be to pause. You don't need to give up your beliefs. Just set them down a little while. Listen to that big Bubba that you can't stand and the way he talks about Trump, and I love Trump, and listen. Because I guarantee, I've done this so many times in my life, when you listen to someone, you will find common ground. You will find the humanity. No. We want to call people this name and that name, and narcissists and bigots and morons and fools and libtards and snobs, you name it. We want to call people names. We don't want to stop and listen. We don't want to stop and look in that mirror and say, what is true about what this person is saying? Can I find common ground? Common ground is not found by conquest, conquering someone else, defeating them in election. Of course, there are places for elections and some people that should probably be defeated. I'm not dismissing that. But common ground is found by people of wisdom, people who have done some self-reflection, people who have looked in their own mirror and who realize that when you look in the mirror, no matter what someone is saying, they are reflecting something to you, however painful that may be. So this whole series, I never started this channel thinking I would talk about politics, but it just became clear that there was something that I felt like I wanted to say here. We are all bringing wisdom to the table. Each and every one of us. I don't care how shrill it may be, how distorted it may have become. There is something that each and every one of us, every MAGA person, every self-righteous progressive, every one of us is bringing something to this table. If we can begin to look in that mirror and see the wisdom that this other person is offering, to see the shadow of our own behavior that they are reflecting to us, to see the humanity that we have within ourselves that they are reflecting back to us, either in a clear reflection or a distorted one. If we can begin to see that in every mirror we look in every so-called enemy we see looking back at us, that's when, in my experience, life begins to change. Thank you for listening to these videos. If you disagree with me, feel free to say so. If you like what you're hearing, please do drop me a note. I know this may be a fool's errand. I'm well aware of that, and I've proven myself to be a fool enough times that maybe I don't think I have that much left to lose. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming here to engaging in this conversation. Let's see every major breakthrough I've had in my life with another human being, whether it's a close relationship or someone I've seen myself as different as, whether it was in prison or whether it was in my day-to-day life in the community. Every major breakthrough I have had has come through a willingness not to preach to someone,